Hey, for the sixth grade, it is Friday, November 6th, and it is your history video for today. And I'm going to look at 79 and 80 in your work text. You are going to be learning about organized cities and government. Ancient India, we're talking about the Aryan Civilization, And the Aryan Civilization is when it came, that was alongside of, or along with, the Harappan Civilization. Then on the back, you have a study guide, which would be basically those pages that you've already done. Just filling in those blanks of the answers of the questions that you've already done. So we're going to look at organized cities and government on page 104, and 104 also has social structure. Also, part of 104 has job specialization, and the rest of it's on 105. And then 105 has the rest of it, which is art, science, and written language. And so let's go ahead and read that, pages 104 and 105. And we will be ready to go. All right, so here we go. The Aryan Civilization. A possible cause for the disappearance of the Harappans may have been an invasion by another people from the north. It is probable that a group of nomads moved into the Indus Valley after 1500 BC. One theory suggests that these people were blonde-haired, tall, and spoke ancient Indo-European. They worshipped the gods of the sky. These nomads herded cattle and became agricultural. They called themselves Arya, which meaning noble. The Aryans began a new period of civilization in the history of India. The Aryans were a warlike people. They trained horses to pull lightweight chariots with two wheels. These chariots were faster than the Indian ox-drawn carts with four dense wheels. The Aryans likely came into India ready to conquer. The Aryan form of justice involved warring within their clan, warring with other clans of Aryans, and warring with non-Aryan people. Disregarding the rights of the Indian people, they spread across northern India and took control of the non-Aryan people. Bands of Aryans also migrated east, south, and west. During their migrations, they married some of the people they had conquered. Most Indians today have hair and skin color similar to the original Indian people, rather than that of the fair Aryans. The Aryans became less nomadic and began to settle into the Indus Valley. The Indus River and its tributaries nourished the fertile Indus Valley that supported the Aryan cattle herds and farming. Preferring not to live in large, established cities like the Harappans, they settled into villages with houses made of wood and stalks of river plants. The family was the basis of Aryan society. Villages were comprised of related family groups. Men were leaders of their families. Women held a good position but were subject to their husbands. The Aryans in India did not form a strong central government, but instead allowed each village to function independently. Each village was governed by a council of leading men and a Raja. Raja, R-A-J-A, is your secret word. The Raja was the most important man in the village. Aryan tribes probably had a social structure even before coming to the Indus Valley. Some of their earliest hymns referred to nobility as well as to tribesmen. Later, religion would have a large impact on the social structure and life in the Aryan society. Some villagers farmed for a living. Their success depended on the annual rains of the wet season. In India, the rains come during the summer monsoon season. A monsoon is a wind that reverses direction with the change of season. India's summer winds blow from the southwest and bring moisture off the Indian Ocean. Once over land, the water vapor in the air condenses and falls as rain. If the rains are light or late, drought and famine may occur. Aryans raised goats, cattle, and sheep. Cattle breeding was especially important to the farmer because cattle were a basis of the Aryan economy. Cattle were used to pay soldiers or priests for their services. Historians believe that cattle were not considered sacred animals at this time, but that they were used as a type of money. A measure of pieces of gold were also used as money. Each village had craftsmen. Artificers made bronze tools and weapons. Some craftsmen made household items such as woven works and pottery. Carpenters built houses, and chariot makers provided transportation. Aryans also produced artwork. Much of their art reflected their religious beliefs. Sculptures of gods and goddesses were common and were probably used in worship. Agriculture and the production of goods made trade likely. Fruits, vegetables, grain, copper, tin, and precious metals could be carried by horse, donkey, or elephant. Cattle were also a large part of local commerce. The rivers served as highways to carry goods by boat to other nearby areas. The Aryans appreciated music. They played the lute, harp, flute, drum, and cymbals. Aryans loved singing and dancing. They practiced science and medicine. Aryans were knowledgeable about astronomy and named many of the stars and planets. The Aryans are famous for their hymns, poetry, and prayers. These were memorized and preserved orally. After a time, they were written down. The written language of the Aryans is called Sanskrit. Unlike the Harappan pictographs, Sanskrit has been translated. Because Sanskrit has been translated, more is known about the Aryans than about the Harappans. The Aryan way of life became the characteristic culture of both ancient and modern India. And so they were the ones that basically took over from the Harappans, and they're the ones that were the forerunners to the common day Indians. Now on the bottom there, it has an activity for you that you do not have to do. However, if you do it, which basically is this, okay, it says linguists are interested in how languages influence each other. When two different language groups frequently have contact with each other, both languages change. Each people group tends to adopt words and phrases from the other. The spellings or meanings of borrowed words can change slightly in the new language. Over time, the borrowed words may become so common that no one thinks about their being from another language. English has been influenced by many other languages. One of those languages is Sanskrit, the ancient language of the Aryans. English is a much newer language than Sanskrit, so you might be surprised to discover how many commonly used English words have been borrowed from Sanskrit. And so it gives you a list of 9 words there. The etymology, by the way, which is part 2, it says examine the etymology of each word. That is where the word comes from. You'll see an LAT for Latin, or a GR for Greek, or sometimes HEBR for Hebrew, Arabic AR usually, or ARAB. So those are the different ones. And it says on the activity manual page, write out the Sanskrit word that each English word that on the list comes from. If the meaning of the original Sanskrit word is given, write down that meaning as well, and compare the Sanskrit meaning with the English meaning. So this is part of page 81. Now 81, that will be extra credit, and so if you want to do that, you can. And so you would just turn that in when you turn in page 82. But if you don't want to do the extra credit, you would just put an X on page 81. All right, that's it for today. Have a good weekend. See you on Monday.